Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the profound wisdom of Chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is known as the Akshara Brahma Yoga. We are going to unpack some seriously mind-bending concepts about the true nature of reality, the cosmos, and the ultimate destination of the human soul. So get ready, because we're taking this incredibly deep philosophical text and translating it into clear, actionable insights that you can actually use.
Okay, let's start off with a pretty provocative question. What is the literal last thought you will ever have? Now, I know it might seem a little morbid to think about, but I want to spark your curiosity here. Because according to this ancient wisdom, this exact, precise moment determines absolutely everything about your ultimate destiny. The text basically argues that your final thought is the steering wheel for whatever comes next.
So to make this complex philosophy crystal clear, we've structured our explainer into 5 logical steps. We'll cover the ultimate reality, the cycle of rebirth, the power of final thoughts, meditating on OM, and finally, the 2 paths of the soul.
Let's kick things off with Part 1, the ultimate reality, by zooming out to understand some of the biggest questions you could possibly ask about the cosmos.
Our source material grounds us right in the middle of a massive dialogue between a highly confused warrior, Arjuna, and his divine guide, Lord Krishna. Arjuna is asking the really big questions here. What is the supreme? What is the soul? What exactly is action? And Krishna answers him by breaking down reality into a few core definitions. First up, we absolutely must define Brahman. The text describes this as the absolute, indestructible foundation that exists way beyond our temporary, physical universe. It's the one changeless essence. Think of it like the ultimate, permanent canvas upon which the entire painting of our universe is drawn. It never perishes. It simply is.
Next, we have Adhyatma. And what's really fascinating about this is that it reveals that the vast, infinite supreme reality isn't just floating out there somewhere in the cosmos. It actually exists locally, right within each and every one of us. It's the inmost self, the individual soul residing inside every physical body. So you are, in essence, a localized expression of that ultimate canvas.
Finally, we define karma. Now, in this specific context, karma isn't just that casual idea of what goes around comes around. Not at all. It's defined as the creative actions and offerings that literally drive the origin and existence of all living things. It's the creative engine that keeps the entire physical world moving.
Well, that perfectly brings us to Part 2, the cycle of rebirth, because we've established what's eternal, but what about this material world we're actually living in right now? The text really pulls no punches when it comes to Adi Bhuta, which is the material world. It reminds us that this physical world we tend to cling to so tightly is perishable and constantly changing. It's even referred to in the text as an abode of sorrows. Why? Because it's entirely subject to the cycles of time. Everything here eventually dissolves. It's all completely temporary. Which leads us to Part 3, the power of final thoughts. If this material world is temporary and filled with sorrow, how in the world do we escape this cycle when our time in this body is officially up? This quote right here brilliantly illustrates the incredible, undeniable power of the exact moment of death. For whatever object a man thinks of at the final moment, that alone does he attain. It is exactly like taking a snapshot of your consciousness right at the finish line. That final, laser-focused thought directly dictates your next existence. You simply go to the state of being that your mind happens to be set on. Actually, the commentaries provide a stark, almost shocking example of this in action. They tell the story of the royal sage, King Bharata. At the very moment of his death, instead of focusing his mind on the divine, he got completely distracted and thought of his pet deer. And the result? He was reborn in the form of a deer. It's a profound warning meant to prove that even a momentary distraction at the very end can entirely derail your spiritual journey.
So you might be thinking, great, I'll just live however I want and then make sure to think of the divine at the very last second. But the sources are crystal clear on this. You can't just fake it at the end. You can't cram for this final exam. As the text metaphorically puts it, you have to maintain your spiritual focus constantly throughout your life, almost like an unbroken 24-hour TV channel. The most prominent thought of your entire life will naturally be the one that occupies your mind at death. You literally have to practice it every single day.
Moving into Part 4, meditating on OM. Now that we know the massive stakes involved, let's explore the actionable how-to. How exactly do we focus our minds to get this right? The sources map out a highly specific, 4-step process for a yogi to follow at the time of departure, systematically shutting out the physical world. First, you close the gates of the senses, basically stopping all the external noise.
Second, you confine the mind and the heart, effectively shutting down emotional turbulence. Third, you draw your vital force, or prana, up into the head. And finally, you engage in the ultimate point of focus, uttering the monosyllable Om.
This powerful verse is really the climax of the entire chapter. It highlights the ultimate spiritual technique. Uttering Om while remembering the Supreme is what allows the departing soul to attain the ultimate goal, permanently escaping that temporary abode of sorrows we talked about earlier.
Now, to really grasp the power of Om, especially if you were trying to explain this to a kid using modern science, think about a tuning fork. Physics tells us that the entire universe is essentially made of vibrations, right? Even the Big Bang left behind this measurable cosmic background hum. Well, in this ancient framework, Om is the ultimate tuning fork. When you strike it, everything around it starts to ring at that exact same pure frequency. So, by vibrating the specific sound, a yogi is basically tuning their own mental frequency to connect straight to the cosmic Wi-Fi of the Supreme Reality. You are literally syncing up with the universe.
Finally, let's jump into part 5, 2 paths of the soul, and see how all of this builds to the ultimate fate of the departing soul once it's tuned to the right frequency. The text explicitly outlines 2 eternal paths. The path of light leads directly to the supreme abode, resulting in total liberation, meaning you never have to return to the perishable world. The path of darkness, however, leads right back into the mortal world, pulling you back into that endless cycle of rebirth and sorrow. Knowing these 2 paths exist, a true yogi focuses solely on the supreme. They completely bypass the temporary rewards of mere rituals, charities, or any worldly achievements. They aren't in it for the short-term, temporary perks. They want the primeval, supreme, eternal abode. So, bringing it all together, the big, overarching lesson of this explainer is actually simple but incredibly profound. Your final moment is simply a reflection of how you lived every single moment before it. There is no cheating the system at the very end. The ultimate goal is to live your daily life with constant, unbroken awareness of the divine, so that when that final moment inevitably comes, it just naturally takes care of itself. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to really reflect on your own daily mindset. Take a hard look at your habits, your passing thoughts, your everyday focus. If your life ended today, what is playing right now on your 24-hour channel? Would it lead you toward the path of light, or right back to exactly where you started? Keep tuning your frequency,